Hi, my name is Teresa, and this video is Techniques for the Knitting is My Cardio Cowl. We're going to start with the stretch technique. There are a couple of rows in this pattern where we slip 3 or 5 stitches, and we want to make sure that the yarn that floats behind those stitches that we slip doesn't pull too tight because it can distort the fabric. This is a little out of order, but starting with the wrong side row when slipping 3 stitches. So we're going to work to the spot where you want to slip. We're going to slip the 3 stitches purlwise with yarn in front because we're on the wrong side. And then, before knitting my next main color stitches, I gently stretch the contrast color stitches out on the right needle. Then I bring my main color yarn to work the next main color stitch. Now on the front, when slipping 3, same thing. Work to the stitches, slip 3, this time purlwise with yarn in back, and stretch the contrast color stitches out on the right needle before knitting with the main color again. So knitting to our spot, then slipping our stitches, and then stretching them, and then working our next color. There is really no difference in this technique between 3 stitches and 5 stitches, other than the fact that you want to be sure that you're giving the 5 stitches a little bit of an extra stretch, since that float's going to travel a longer distance. There are 2 different ways to join the cowl together. The first is this double layer bind off. So for this version, you're going to take your piece, you're going to fold it so that the right sides are together and the wrong side is on the outside. And taking that super long piece of yarn that I had you keep from your cast on, you're going to pick up and knit. Now you're going to go through both layers of fabric and then wrap your yarn and pull it through. This is a little annoying because you're going through 2 layers of fabric. Now, you'll see that we've got our kind of main color section, and then we've got this spot where the colors start alternating. For that main color section, you want to be picking up 5 stitches in that section, and I use that side as my reference point as opposed to the front side because it is so clear where the stitches are. Now we're picking up 30 stitches total, but we've just picked up 5, and now we can start alternating. So I'm picking up, making sure I'm going through my contrast color, whoops, do it again, wrap, and pull through. And now when I go in for the next stitch, I'm going to be grabbing the maroon, which is my main color, and pull through. Now my, got there. My next stitch, I'm going under the teal contrast color. So I'm just going to keep alternating like this the rest of the way down the edge, picking up a stitch through both sides of the fabric every single time. Okay, now I have picked up all of my stitches, and I'm going to turn my work. And at this side, I've got both of my I-cord ends. So I am going to do a standard bind off. So I'm going to knit 2 using those I-cord ends. And then I'm going to pass 1 stitch over and off of the right needle. And then I'm going to knit a stitch, pass that stitch over and off the right needle. And I'm going to do this all the way down the length till I get to the end. Okay, so I'm here at the end, and then I'm going to knit that final stitch. I'm going to pass this stitch over, and then I'm just going to pull both tails all the way through. And now I can weave in my ends. And if I flip this bad boy inside out, you can see this nice, beautiful joined edge. Now the second option for joining is an I-cord seam using your I-cord tail, so it kind of creates a long I-cord. We're going to start by picking up stitches alongside A, see the schematic in the pattern, starting right there at the tip of the pattern and starting to go same direction, but we're on the right side of the fabric instead of having the wrong side of the fabric face us. Now same thing as last time, 5 stitches in this main color section, and then we can start using the contrast color yarn and main color alternating as our guide. So I am picking up a stitch in each little bump of contrast color, and then pick one up in the main color, and I'm just going to do this all the way down side A. Okay, I've done that all the way down side A. I'm going to pull my needle through. I'm going to turn the work around, and then I'm going to bring up side D. Again, see that schematic? And I'm going to pick up stitches on side D, still using that same super lovely long yarn tail I had you set aside at the very beginning. I'm going to pick up right above the I-cord, not into the I-cord, right above it. Alright, one super important thing, when you are switching from picking up your stitches on side A to picking your stitches up on side D, you need to be super careful that the yarn that spans the gap between side A and side D isn't too long, okay? So you want them to be kind of close together when you pick up that first stitch of side D so that there isn't a huge gap between the two sides. Wrap and pull through. Now this side does not have that same visual difference between stitches, but what we do have is we have a difference between the slip stitches and then purl bumps. So right here you'll see there is slip stitches and purl bumps. You're going to want to go into the slip stitches and into the purl bumps. That's how you alternate. So once you do that, you're going to have 30 stitches on each needle. You're going to set it up like magic loop where both needles are pointing to the right, and then using a third needle, you're going to go ahead and join stitches from the front and the back needle by knitting two together. So one from the front needle, one from the back needle, wrap, pull through. We're not binding off, we're just going one, first needle, back needle, pull through, and over to our spare needle. Alright, now all of those stitches have been knit together. We should have 30 stitches on our needle. We're going to turn it so it's in our left hand, and we're going to pick up the 4 stitches that we left for our I-cord. We put those on waste yarn, so I'm going to pop those on there. Alright, so I've got my I-cord stitches on there, and I'm just going to continue working my I-cord. So my last 4 stitches were in my main color, which means I'm going to use my contrast color to get started. And I'm going to knit 2 and then knit 2 together through the back loop. So with my contrast color, I go knit 1, knit 2, knit 2 together through the back loop. Oop, not 3. Knit 2 together through the back loop. And then I'm going to take those 3 stitches, I'm going to slip them back over to the left needle. I'm going to pick up my main color yarn, and then I'm going to knit 2, then knit 2 together through the back loop. And I'm going to keep doing this all the way until I have 4 stitches remaining. Alright, so binding off the I-cord is used for both methods. In this we have our last 4 stitches, which I'm slipping over because I've just followed those instructions. I'm going to slip 1, 2 over to the right needle, and then I'm going to bind off from the left needle. So I'm going to take that leftmost stitch, which is the last stitch we picked up, I'm going to pass that over, and then I'm going to bind off one on the right needle, find the rightmost stitch, pass that over, slip the remaining stitch on the left needle over to the right needle, and then bind off. And then what I can do is I can just pull that all the way through and weave in my ends. Thanks so much for joining me for learning some techniques for the Knitting is My Cardio cowl. I hope you have fun knitting the cowl.